Oh, yeah, right there, right there, right there, right there. Yes! Woo! That's what I'm talking about. Yeah! Welcome to another video. This your host, Mr. 240 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal. Welcome to the most overrated, underappreciated, most viewed, underviewed YouTube channel of all time. Welcome to Mr. No Days Off. A couple things I want to address in this new video, but the first thing I want to do is pay my respects and condolences to Chadwick Boseman and his family. As we all know, yesterday, Friday, Chadwick Boseman died or passed away at the age of 43 from colon cancer. And a lot of us didn't know he was doing this. He was battling cancer for 4 years. And it's amazing to think, these last 4 years bringing Avengers, Black Panther, and all his other kind of movies he did in the span, that he did it while doing chemotherapy. He personified Black excellence, and he was a truly inspiring human being. And his legacy will never be forgotten. It will always be remembered 40 years from now. And even though it was short-lived, he still put a mark and a stamp for his name on Hollywood. And for him, thank you. For Black Panther, thank you for Wakanda Forever. And I hope that his family is doing well, and my condolences go out to his family. So, let's get into the new stuff. Well, I want to give a huge thank you, and to all my followers and the fans that support me, but also to my new subscribers. I know a lot of you guys that saw me in the Jubilee video, which was an incredible experience, and I love working with them. Amazing company based out in LA, and I'm really glad I was able to go on the show. I love what they do. I think it's very important for different people to come on the show and voice their opinions and find a common ground. That's basically what they do. And it was really nice to be able to go on that show, voice my opinions, but also listen to other people's opinions. And, we all talk and figure out, what stuff in common we have. That was a really good video that I was able to do. And I met some really nice people on that. And I'm looking forward to working with them again. I did 2 episodes. The second one was called the 13 versus the 9 amateurs. Check that out on Jubilee. That was another incredible experience. A diverse, amazing group of people. And I'm looking forward to the next one. But anyway, let's get into the main topic. So, the main topic for this episode, or I should say video, I'm still in my podcast mind. But I want to do the LA versus New York debate. As we all know, I'm from New York, and there's always been a debate between LA and New York, who's better. There's always been a rivalry when it comes to like pursuing a career to hip hop and all this stuff. And I wanted to get into that because I think it's important for upcoming artists to understand the difference. So, here's my conclusion. So, to start out, if you want to be an actor or you're starting out to become an entertainer of some sorts, I think it's better to be in New York than LA. And I say that because in New York, everything's more close, it's more accessible, everything's more easy to get to, and there's more opportunities. You got NYU, you got the New York Film Academy, and you can just take the A train everywhere. You can take the A train from Columbia University to New York University in a short amount of time. And I found tremendous success in New York. And when I started, I worked with Columbia, I worked with students from NYU, and it's been an amazing journey. From doing student films to thesis films, and then eventually make my way up to feature films. And then moving out to LA, I've noticed it's harder. I met a lot of people here who unfortunately move here and don't understand that it's a dramatic difference. LA is more for people who kind of already have a base established for themselves and want to build that up. So, for instance, when I moved here, I had my reel, I had my headshots, and I had my resume done. And I'm not saying I'm by far Denzel Washington, even though, I'm a good looking, doppelganger of Chris Hemsworth, obviously. But it was a lot easier for me to move here and start building myself up. Now I'm getting the opportunity to audition for, Coca-Cola, Amazon, Netflix, NBC, and that wouldn't have happened if I moved here without the proper materials and the proper base. Like they always say, if you want to succeed, you have to have a baseline. It's like a building. You can't build a building without a foundation. And New York is a great way to build that foundation. And LA is more of the perfect way to build upon that foundation. And it's different for everybody. Everybody finds degrees of success in LA and New York differently. Some people thrive in New York, which is more of a theater town. And that's another thing. LA is not a theater town. So if you're a theater trained actor like myself, you'll find it harder to get recognition for those theater credits, as opposed to New York, where people love that theater background. They kind of want you to have that theater background. LA is more of a film, TV, commercial, voiceover place, so they want that more on-camera experience. So that's the difference, I would say, is when you move here, be prepared, have your stuff ready, take some classes, and have that foundation. Don't come on the whim that you see all these Hollywood movies and you say, "Oh, LA is so glamorous, I can move there and build a career." It's tough. People have been here 5 years and haven't achieved any of their goals. And then people like me, I didn't achieve everything I set out to be for the last year. I was able to move here, find an agent, and now I'm getting in the conversation for these big, companies. So I would say start off in your hometown, start building that foundation, get your resume, build your credits, and then when you're ready to move, fly away. Whew. Social life is a big thing. So New York, I've always been a extroverted guy, kind of popular, everybody knew me. But social life. When you move to LA, be prepared to be lonely for a long time. And I'm not just talking about relationships, I'm talking about friendships and stuff like that. And this is not strictly a New York versus LA thing specifically, but I've noticed for people moving from New York to LA, they have noticed that their social life has decreased a lot, because it's so spread out and you need a car here and there's a lot of traffic. So obviously when you put those two together, it's harder to have that balance, So I've had in the last year, I would say maybe 1 or 2 social gatherings that I've been to since moving to LA. And maybe that's my fault, but I think depending on where you live in LA and what you do, if you're an entrepreneur and you're, an actor, a model, a dancer, and you have representation, it's a lot harder to have a social life because, for instance, for me, I can go out to a party on Friday and then I'll get a casting audition for Saturday. And I have to go make sure I memorize my lines and do the commercials. Obviously, with the pandemic, it's a lot different. But it's still that you never know what's going to happen mentality that you have to have. And aside from, your career, your social life it impacts you because it is so spread out. A lot of people don't want to travel. So, I've met people, I live in downtown LA, and some of my coworkers are from North Hollywood, and we have a group chat and stuff like that. But aside from that, meeting people from Pasadena, Glendale, and you live in like Santa Monica, because it may not seem like a lot of distance, but with traffic and all that stuff, a lot of people don't want to commit to that. So you'll see a dramatic increase in your social life, and maybe you can find some friends in your neighborhood, but you'll go from going out every weekend to maybe once a month, because the bars are not as popular in certain areas as others. Whereas in like New York, for me, if I want to gathering together, we can just hop on the train and go to the bar, then walk to another bar across the street, then walk to a bar around the corner. Whereas in LA, it's not like that. You kind of have to plan it out. So like if you want to go to Hollywood and you live in like downtown LA, or you live in Pasadena, you have to plan that trip out. And a lot of times, a lot of bars aren't next to each other. So if you go to a bar in Hollywood, you might have to go to West Hollywood to the next bar. So it's very tricky to have social life here, especially when you come from a place where you have a lot of friends. Most of my friends are still from New York, and I have most of my friends from New York. So that's something to keep in mind. And another thing I also want to address as I talk about this is the problem I have with LA specifically is the fact that a lot of people only want to associate you when it benefits them. Meaning, people find out who you know, what you do, how many followers you have on Instagram. And that's when a lot of people only want to work with you. If you don't have something that they can, take and build upon, they don't want to associate with you. So the flake culture is very real here. You'll meet people, you're hitting it off well, you thinking everything's going well, and then 2 days later, you don't hear from them ever again. And there's a lot of reasons why that happens, but I've noticed that the flakiness is at an all-time high in LA. So that's another downgrade, a downfall, I should say, about your social life, is that you will have to, build a network and connection for yourself here. And so that's why there's a lot of freelancers here, and it's tough. And one of the things I was talking to a friend about this is that you have to learn to separate professional from friendships. So being an actor for myself, for an example, I'm an actor. I can't rely on other actors to give me work or help me out and give me opportunities. And sometimes too, having a podcast now, I've realized that I can't rely on certain friends. So there'll be times where I have a good idea for an episode, and I reach out to someone, or someone reach out to me and they're interested. And then for some reason, they never respond. Why don't you want to work with, Chris Hemsworth is beyond me, obviously. But, all jokes aside, it's a very flaky culture. And that's something a lot of people can't deal with. A lot of people move here and they want to be social. They want to have that same experience they had back home, because it's always nice and sunny here. And then when you don't have that, a lot of people end up leaving, or they end up, finding a different career to pursue because they get lonely. The journey gets lonely. They don't have a lot of supporters in their new new environment. So that's another downfall to LA. Bam, work ethic is another difference. For me, coming from New York, there's always a hustle and bustle attitude. Everybody's moving, everybody's moving somewhere, everybody's hustling. And this it's called the city that never sleeps for a reason. So you'll see a lot of people always on the train. You'll see SNL stars on the train. You'll see Broadway stars on the train, and nobody cares. Everybody's just all moving, and they got stuff to do and they got to take care of business. LA is more of a laid back culture. So sometimes, for me, especially being from New York, a lot of people might find my attitude more aggressive, because I'm always about let's move, because time is money, but it's a very laid back culture. I guess it's also because of the weather is always nice. It's not like New York where you got 5, 6, 7 different seasons. Everybody's more laid back. You'll see people wearing suit jackets with shorts, and you'll see people wearing ties and slacks, and then some Nike sneakers. True story, I actually see a lot of business people who work in like the corporate offices. They'll come in the gym and they'll go jog on the treadmill in their whole gym in their work clothes. So you don't really see that in New York, but the work ethic is very different. Everybody's more laid back here. It's very easy to get complacent, especially once you have an agent or something. which I've dealt with too. I would say from like December to like February, there was a time where I was like, oh, I have an agent. I get to relax and just wait to the next gig, and I just work and then do more auditions. And then at some point you lose that motivation to keep moving. You lose that drive to be a self, be your own self-employed. And thank God for the pandemic, because I don't know if without the pandemic if I would have changed my mindset about it. But it's very easy to get complacent here, especially when you have someone in your corner. Whether it's a representation, a manager, of some sorts. It's very easy to get caught up in this whole, this whole facade of LA. And for me, going back to New York was always amazing for me, because it always grounded me and made me realize like time is valuable, and you can't get the time back. So what you do in an hour, you can't get that back. So you might as well make it productive. So that's a big difference for me. It's the work ethic. New York is more of a hustle and grinding. LA is more of a laid back approach. And the last and final one I have to address. This is something that's been bothering me since I would say the third month I moved here. Is the attitude and the prima donna persona that people put out. So coming from your hometown, for me especially in New York, people don't care who you are. Yeah, if you see Hugh Jackman walking down the street, you might ask for an autograph or something like that. But like I mentioned, like you'll see SNL stars on the train. The Sprouse twins, Dylan and Nicole Sprouse, when they was at NYU, they would always take the train. I've seen big name celebrities on the train. Keanu Reeves is a prime example of someone who always takes the train, and like people don't care. Yeah, you might see someone, you be like, "Oh, I'm a big fan. Can I get your autograph?" But for the most part, people don't care. People got lives, that they got to live, and they got business they got to take care of, and like they don't care about the next man. It's all about what I had to do to provide for myself and my family. LA, and I've said this plenty of times in previous videos. This is a very image driven culture. A lot of people think they're better than everybody, and these are the transplants like me, people who move here. Those are the people that they feel like they're big name stars, they better than everybody else, and like they got to put on this image, and it's very toxic to get accustomed to, because you end up falling in the trap as well. I know, for a prime example, I met a dude who was driving a nice sports car, and it was like $50,000, right? And you like, ooh, that's a nice car. How you get that? But then you find out he has like 5 different jobs. He works at Domino's. He works at Subway. He works at Burger King just to pay for that car. And there's that attitude that everybody just feels like they're better than you. And like for me, when I first moved there, I used to always take the train a lot. And like I always felt out of place. When I go to New York, I could like taking a train was part of life. Like people didn't care. Like if you got people making millions of dollars taking a train, and there's no difference. But in LA, for some reason, there's kind of like this shift, and it's hard to feel like it makes you feel less of a person. When you get out the train and you see all these Camaros and Ferraris and Teslas running around on the corner and stuff like that, and it's just like you see people who has amazing style, of course, but it's a very image driven culture, and everybody has to put up this "I'm better than you" attitude, and it's one of the biggest downfalls for me in LA. And that's not to say I'm a leave, but it's one of those things where I've noticed for a lot of people who move here, they kind of fall in that trap, or they don't really blend in, and so they have a hard time adjusting to it. So that's something I would say for me, especially if you're trying to move to LA, which a lot of people do. Be prepared. When you come here, you're gonna feel like, "Ooh, I gotta step my game up. I gotta get better clothes. I gotta get better outfits." And it's actually something I want to address. A lot of people see my Goku hair and it's like, "Oh, that's amazing hair. How do you do it like that?" And to be honest, I used to take a lot of great pride in my appearance. I still do. But I don't really do much to my hair no more. That's the secret. A lot of people think I wake up and I spend an hour on my hair. Nah, I just throw it down at night, wake up, throw a little grease on it, comb it out, and I'm super sane. But it really forces you to work on your self appearance. So that's actually a benefit of being in LA, is that it teaches you to take care of yourself and take pride in how you look and stuff like that. So I would say there's not always negative drawbacks, but like they always say, with the good always come with the bad. So that's my biggest concern, is that people get caught up in this culture, and life in LA is not what you see on the movies. There's a lot of people pursuing careers, even working actors, working entertainers, who aren't celebrity status yet, and they still struggle to find work. I've been here for a year and I haven't booked anything. But when I was back in New York, I would book jobs then, bam, bam, bam. And it's also different. When you have an agent, you can't just go out and do all the films that you want. You kind of have to stick within that contract. So be prepared for that. It's going to be less work and more people. And that's the biggest thing I could tell you, is that the competition is real. But like I said, with the bad, is always good, because even though there's more competition, there's not as many people who's as serious as you. So I would say maybe 1 out of 5 people take this career really seriously in LA. And I've noticed that time and time again, everybody's an actor, they're a dancer, they're a producer, and they're stuff like that. But they don't do anything. They don't have no work. They don't pursue any work. And, they just work and drink and party all day, which is, hey, we're young, have fun. But those are my biggest things compared to New York and LA that I want you guys to really consider, especially because I know a lot of people from New York always move to LA and vice versa. So it's been a good journey so far, man. Take care. One thing I would say is use this time for the pandemic wisely. Go create a business. Go learn a new skill or hone skills that you have. Use this time to be productive. You know what I'm saying? I started my podcast during this pandemic, and it's been way better than my YouTube views and so it's a journey. You kind of have to have fun with it. But thank you guys for tuning in. I'm gonna keep this short. I want to put you to sleep, because I'm about to go to sleep. And go follow my podcast. Prince of Fresh Air is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, 6 different platforms. My Instagram as well has the link to it. So if you want to go check that out, definitely come support. And I'm always looking for new people to join the show. So if you have a controversial opinion, or if you have something that's newsworthy, headline buzzing and stuff like that, let me know. Holla at your boy. Thank you guys for supporting me. Thank you for the new subscribers for coming, and thank you for my continuous subscribers for the support. And like always in my podcast, a better hand is a helping hand. Peace.